Two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Patrick Beverley, how does it feel to be back? The Clippers' new season. LeBron James, tough opponent. Kawhi Leonard as your teammate. How does it feel? Thank you.
Okay, now the easy joke from a lot of people is going to be, that's probably the same video that they could have taken when he was notified he was traded to the Timberwolves, but that is not true. Patrick Beverley tweeted yesterday how excited he is to play with a group of young, hungry players ready to make a push for the 10-seed play-in game. This is Mackey and Judd, daily Minnesota sports entertainment. And boys, it's Reckless Speculation Thursday here on the show. Probably our favorite day of the week, and we welcome in Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department and the Scoop Podcast for inside information about your favorite Minnesota sports teams. Happy holiday, everybody.
It's finally
Happy Thursday. Hello, Phil. Hello, Judd. Hello, Declan. Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday.
And, dude, let's be clear. Every day, if you live the proper lifestyle, and I do, it's a reckless speculation day. But on Thursdays, we celebrate.
Yeah.
On Thursdays, we officially acknowledge the greatness
It's
of
my favorite day of the week.
Speculation. And sometimes, you know what happens, Doogie? Reckless speculation comes true. And that's what dreams are made of.
It really is. So let's start. So Patrick Beverley, just staring at the camera. He's an odd dude. He definitely is considered one of the dirtier players in the NBA. We also have an update from Doogie on 20-year-old international phenom Leandro Bolmaro. But Doogs, we got Bolmaro in town. We got Patrick Beverley coming to town. So let's just start with Timberwolves, and you feel free to just dump your notebook all over the show here. Fire away.
Well, on Beverley, now maybe that was his reaction when he found out on Sunday night he was on his way to Memphis. It's possible, although everything he said about the Wolves, you could argue, should hold true if he had been a member of the Grizzlies. But I'm told he is fine with this trade. He has a prior relationship with Gerson Rosas, with Chris Finch. He is connected with the Wolves team leaders in terms of players. He's okay with this transaction. Now, I know there is already some national steam, Bally Sports, not locally Bally Sports, but some national steam connecting the LA Lakers to Patrick Beverley if the Wolves buy him out. I can tell you, Phil, the Wolves are not buying out Patrick Beverley anytime soon. Now, if the season goes south and it's March 15th, okay, we can have a different discussion. But right now, the idea is for Patrick Beverley to help these guys out. It all came together. I mean, clearly, right? When the Clippers make the trade they made with the Grizzlies on Sunday night, then by Tuesday morning, Beverley is traded here. Clearly, things happened pretty fast. I am told there were some members of the Wolves front office that were caught off guard. I mean, this was Gerson Rosas doing his thing, not necessarily a collaborative effort. Now, his defense, and I think it's probably a fair one, is it all happened literally so fast. It's not like I needed to call my multiple assistant general managers and run this transaction by them. My staff had known for a while, Jarrett Culver, Juancho Hernangomez, those guys were readily available. Those guys were not going to be part of the Wolves' future. So to be able to bring in a guy that we feel like can help us, toughness-wise, leadership-wise, sure, at least defensively, maybe offensively, you know, in some different spurts too. Yeah, let's just do it. So they end up giving up about $1 million in financial flexibility, but all things considered, it's a transaction I certainly would have made. I think the fair conversation to have is, would you rather just have Ricky Rubio? That if you go back to the Rubio, Taurean Prince trade, which created almost $5 million of financial flexibility, and you really didn't do much with that. Now, there's still some offseason to be had, but really, you haven't done anything with that. Would you rather just have Ricky Rubio compared to Patrick Beverley? But in a bubble, just this singular transaction, Culver, Hernangomez going out, Beverley coming in, I'm a thumbs up on that particular move.
So, Dukes, you know, this is obviously a good addition defensively and a guy who's going to help them in an area where they badly need help. What does this now do to the Ben Simmons possibilities? And is this a move for a much lesser player, but a guy who can defend? Because Gerson basically has looked at what the Sixers want and said he can't do it. Or is this a stopgap just in case that they can't get a guy like Simmons, who would obviously help in a lot of ways and defensively especially, but at least this brings in a guy who embraces that side of the floor where obviously a lot of guys on this team don't.
Well, I mean, Judd, certainly the latter, maybe the former. I mean, this I know for a fact. Daryl Morey had zero interest. Who can fault him? He had zero interest in Hernan Gomez and Culver. Morey, like Rosas, from their days together in Houston, has a history with Patrick Beverley, right? So there is a thought that Morey is a fan of Patrick Beverley. Could Beverley help Philadelphia later in the season as they still feel like they have a chance to win an uber competitive Eastern Conference? Yeah, he probably could. But I don't see how Beverley is the guy that puts these talks over the top. Like, you still need to involve a third team. You still need to be able to put multiple future first-round picks, probably at least one unprotected, on the table. You need to put Jaden McDaniels on the table. But sure, in terms of evening out the numbers, in terms of sending out money, yeah, I do think probably, the idea of Beverley heading to Philadelphia would help out in those talks. But I still look at the Wolves, Judd, as a long shot. They can continue to pester Philadelphia all they want. I still look at the Wolves as a long shot to land Ben Simmons.
Hey, before we get to Bolmaro, because I tend to think that this was kind of the big – I don't think there's another big move coming this offseason. I think their improvements are going to be sort of on the margins through free agency and trades. They made a couple trades, and then I think it's going to be Chris Finch full offseason and training camp to implement his system, and Edwards hitting 40-foot three-point jumpers and workouts. I just think everything is going to come sort of from within here, whether that's going to work or not. But Doogie, we've talked about Ben Simmons. Myles Turner was a hot name for a long time. Pascal Siakam, some of these other names that have been floated as being available, but nothing has happened with them yet. Any insight at all whatsoever in some of these other names?
Well, I mean, there's Lauri Markkanen. Our mutual friend Dane Moore had the note about Marcus Smart. And I had the note a few weeks ago that Brad Stevens, who now runs the Celtics, checked in on Ricky Rubio. But Boston wasn't moving Marcus Smart. Brad Stevens loves Marcus Smart. So the Wolves, Gerson is doing what he typically does. Like, he goes star chasing, semi-star chasing. He makes a lot of inquiries, but a lot of them just aren't realistic. Myles Turner, he ain't gone anywhere. Maybe eventually, Phil, but Rick Carlisle gets 4 years, $29 million. Indiana feels like they can make a jump in the Eastern Conference with Carlisle now leading the way, with T.J. Warren back with a full year of Karis LeVert, and Sabonis getting better, and Brogdon maybe taking another step forward, and having Turner. So what was the pathway to landing Myles Turner? But they'll continue to try. I don't think the idea, Phil, was heading into August 1st, August 2nd. I don't think the idea was for this to be the plan. But, yeah, I think they'll be able to sell the idea of, okay, Chris Finch, full training camp, full season. How about the idea of D'Lo, Ant, Cat playing together for a sustainable stretch? It really didn't happen last year. Jaden McDaniels getting that much better. Heck, Malik Beasley missed a good portion of games last year. So, maintaining his presence, at least offensively, on the court, him being able to help you out. But I'm just telling you, Phil, I don't think the idea, I really don't. I don't think the idea heading into August 1st was, let's just run this thing back and hope that we can make a jump into the top 10.
On Bolmaro now, he's here. What's the plan there? It sounds like from what you were saying, Dukes, he's going to sign. And do you think he starts the season on the Wolves roster, or probably starts in Iowa and then eventually, if things go well, gets moved up?
Well, I mean, I think he's going to need some G League time eventually. But, being around Finch, his teammates, just practicing with the Wolves, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. His performance in Tokyo was, for lack of a better term, pretty uninspiring. He did have a really good 2-month finish with his team overseas. Didn't have a good start of the season, but his finish of the season was really good. There's a lot to like there. Like, I'm convinced from talking to personnel people, really more so texting, but that if Bolmaro was in this year's draft, he would have gone higher than he went last November. So where did he go last November? 22 or 23, whatever it was. He would have gone higher. And I don't know if that means 14, 15, 16, but he would have gone higher. That based on the finish he had, he's got enough fans in the league that he would have been a mid-first round type pick. Who knows? Maybe even higher. So there's enough there to like. But like with any player outside of Luka Doncic, who's, out of this world, who was an MVP overseas at the age of like 16 or 17, outside of, that one example, maybe one other example, there's an adjustment period for a kid coming from overseas. But he'll end up signing his 4-year rookie contract, the last 2 years with team options. The Wolves now should have around $6.5 to $7 million below the luxury tax. The idea is to still re-sign Jared Vanderbilt on Jordan McLaughlin, because you look at the Patrick Beverley move and you say, okay, where does McLaughlin fit in? I'm told Rosas had a conversation with the McLaughlin camp. There's still some desire being expressed to find a way to retain McLaughlin. But what's interesting there is, so the second free agency opened a few Mondays ago. What was it, August 2nd, whatever that first Monday in August was. So Gerson Rosas, Chris Finch, a couple other Wolves staff members are out in Los Angeles. The first free agent meeting they had was with Jordan McLaughlin. They sold him on being ready to hand him, more of the keys of the offense, pretty much telling him, hey, we want you to be our number 2 point guard. So it's fascinating to me how much can change over the course of just a couple weeks. Just a reminder that it's a cutthroat business. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Any talk of family, kumbaya, we're all in this together, collaboration, that stuff makes me want to vomit. It's not true. Now, the Wolves haven't really talked much about that in the last handful of months, maybe when Rosas took over, but thankfully they've shifted away from a decent amount of that dialogue. And I would have made the Beverley move. I get it, but I'm just saying, based on what they told McLaughlin, it's just interesting how that situation has changed, so much.
I have a Bolmaro question here in a second.
Reckless speculation.
But these scoops presented by Doogie are brought to you guys by Federated Mutual Insurance Company. And they're a bunch of Timberwolves fans there. They've had a long-time partnership with the Timberwolves and the Lynx. And they've been partnering with businesses and business owners for over 100 years, based in Owatonna. They're one of us. And you can find them online at federatedinsurance.com if you want to find out more about the resources and the risk management tools they can offer to your business to help maximize it. Federatedinsurance.com, and at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. So on Bolmaro, what do you think the Wolves think his upside is? I mean, for this season, they're not looking for a savior this season. That's kind of the nice thing for him is, in other circumstances in Wolves history, there might be a time where people are like, oh my God, come save the franchise. Right? Like, even with the Wild and Kaprizov, it's like, please come over here and make this team relevant again. The Wolves only really need like 12 minutes a game and some three-point shooting and not be a train wreck in the other areas this season from Bolmaro. But what does the franchise think his upside can be, Doogie?
I mean, maybe it's what they thought Jarrett Culver could be a year ago, not when they initially, drafted him 6th overall in 2019. But after seeing him for a year, then tempering expectations, maybe something along those lines. And certainly not immediately. I'm not talking November, December, maybe toward the end of the year, maybe more so one season from now. But yeah, a guy that's got two-way potential, so certainly can be above average defensively, if not good defensively, maybe not great, but certainly good, and a guy that can knock down three-pointers, that can get to the hole, can get to the free throw line, create offense. Yeah, I think they feel like, hey, he can guard multiple positions, so he's got that much more position flexibility. So I feel like, they feel like he can be a guy that can be a rotation piece on a playoff team.
So, Dukes, I did an Instagram live on the Vikings last night, and the biggest question.
Sick brag right there, by the way, by Judd.
But I got one big
seriously.
question though. I got one big question, and the question I got from everybody was Everson Griffen's workout. How did he look? Now, I had to explain. We are not allowed in to watch that, and so it took place in the morning on Wednesday, but we didn't see it. What have you heard about how his workout went? And I think there was an immediate assumption that he was just going to sign, which isn't always how this works. So what's your analysis of also where things stand as the Vikings at least give consideration to bringing him back?
I'll answer that question in a second, but I have a question to throw back at you. When you did your Instagram live, were you sober?
I was on my first Surly. I was on my first.
All right. Well, considering your
100% sober.
Your tolerance, you would have been, plenty sober. So,
so I was
and even
sober.
if you were inebriated, it's still entertaining.
That's
Judd.
fine.
So
I'm
I'll check out the next one.
I'm not looking to be completely drunk.
No.
Listen, I just want to tell you that the power of Score North here. Judd Zulgad is now an Instagram and a TikTok star, and Patrick Royce, as of yesterday, is now a YouTube star. Okay,
Correct.
So
we got to get Royce
these
on the
old
TikTok.
codger
Royce
media
got
Star
on
Tribune
that.
guys.
We got to get Royce dancing on the TikTok. That's the only way this is going to work for me.
That will be a career highlight if you make that happen. All right, let me answer your question, Judd. You're right. I mean, the Vikings bring in a punter the other day, and I think a lot of people thought after Colquitt's underwhelming performance on Saturday against Denver that the Vikings would sign the punter, right? That they need some punting competition in camp. No, they're not signing that punter. Maybe down the road, but not right now. They're not signing that punter. So they bring guys in.
They're just doing it to scare the incumbent, right? All right, Britton, you had a bad game. Now you're going to have to watch your potential replacement for 2 hours at the practice facility. We're not going to sign him. We just want to scare you a little bit.
And he's been around enough where I don't think it scared him. I don't think he cares. But on Griffen, so I can tell you from somebody that was able to watch some of it, because you're right, reporters did not have access to the workout.
Right.
I'm told, Judd, he looked, quote, explosive. He looked good. Now, when contemplating the idea of signing Everson, it's detailed, right? It's a process. There's a lot of layers there, right? You got to make sure Everson mentally is in the right spot. But just from a physical standpoint, I am told he looked really, really good.
Interesting. Interesting. I do wonder what his first interaction is going to be like with
Reckless speculation.
Kirky boy.
Just because he called him
The birthday boy. Can
Cousins?
you imagine the replies on that? So the Vikings tweeted out that it's Kirk Cousins' birthday.
Oh, no.
I haven't had a chance to look at the replies, but can you imagine the replies to that particular tweet?
Was that this morning?
It was this morning, yeah.
All right, I need to find this. This is amazing. I mean, there are a lot. Kirk has a huge group of diehard fans. Here we go. Happy birthday, Kirk. Oh, there's only 23 replies on it. No, now there's 86 actually.
It's early. I was gonna say, and it's early.
Go.
Come on.
Oh my god. All right, I'll go through some of these maybe for later in the show.
Yeah, save it for later. And let me remind people,
Reckless speculation.
those who don't like Kirk, what's the alternative? What was
Anything
the
else?
alternative prior? What's the alternative
Well, Doogie,
now?
I think it depends on what you're talking about when you say prior. In 2018, it was the right move. I think we all saw that Case Keenum, the pumpkin was the carriage was turning into a pumpkin, we all thought, and so you got to get more of a solidified quarterback in here. And people always say, well, Case Keenum had the number one defense in the NFL in 2017, and Kirk's had garbage around him. The Vikings had the fourth best yardage defense in the NFL in 2018 and missed the playoffs. That was the real 2018 was the real opportunity, and Kirk played really poorly in some big games. And then since then, the defense has sort of eroded. The offensive line has had a lot of moving parts and has not been great. And so there are some built-in reasons and excuses. But I think when they decided to extend him, and not just extend him, but make him to the cap, the second and third highest paid quarterback in the NFL for 2021 and 22, they put themselves in a really tough spot.
That's it.
And yes, they made a bunch of really great, savvy, short-term contract moves this offseason despite that contract. But that contract is a huge part of the reason, and his inability to overcome some of the deficiencies on the roster, it's a huge part of the reason why they're going to start Oli Udoh and Rashad Hill as 40% of their offensive line. And so, Kirk Cousins is definitely going to prevent you from winning only like 4 or 5 games. You're not going to be a disaster with Kirk Cousins because he's good enough. But he's just sort of checkmate when it comes to being the best possible team that you can be because he can't overcome the deficiencies that his contract presents to the roster. So, anyways, that's my piece.
That's all fair. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to
Thoughts?
double down on that. I agree with exactly what you just said, Phil. It's that second contract. In 2018, 100% the right move.
Yeah. What else you got? Empty the bag here before we have to kick you to your A job here, Dukes.
Well, yeah, the A job entails doing one of these with Derek Falvey in a few minutes for a TV piece Sunday night. I mean, I only have so many things I need to ask Derek. It is fun, the run that they're on, but, like, what does it really mean? Heck, I'd rather have them lose some games and get a higher draft pick. There's a kid that's atop the 2022 draft list, a kid by the name of Elijah Green. I had a baseball executive tell me earlier this summer that if tanking was a thing in baseball, teams would tank for this kid, that he's the best draft prospect in about 4 or 5 years, maybe going back to Bobby Witt Jr., so maybe a few years, but very, very special talent. But the Twins are way too good. I said it at the time, they were too good, but certainly now they're way too good to be picking super high up in the draft. Otherwise, I'll get some injury updates. I did tell Judd on Tuesday, Phil, and I don't.
It was actually
I don't,
Declan.
It was
it
me.
was Declan.
Well,
yeah,
Judd
it
was
Declan.
gone. Look, COVID
You're right,
test
you
for
were
the Vikings.
Yeah, you were at Vikings. You were
I was
getting
getting
a
my nose
COVID
swabbed.
test.
Yeah, it's very
In
exciting.
fact, thank you for the reminder. I got to do that here in the next couple days. Hopefully, the trailer is open for us. I know it's open for Adam Thielen, Harrison Smith, and those guys. Kirk Cousins. I don't know if it's still open for
just
us.
put right in. No
Yeah, I'll pop
Adam,
right
come
in.
on, Stoogie.
Yeah. So anyway, I told Declan. Well, maybe I told you, Judd, last Thursday. Who knows? Days blend together. But Phil, I don't think you were a part of it because I think you were away on business. That I actually think there's a pathway to the Twins signing Byron Buxton long term. That the Twins need to go higher than the $80 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
But I do think now that
They
they've
should.
moved off the Barrios money, they won't invest long term in Barrios. I would not be surprised if the Twins eventually lock up Byron Buxton long term.
They should. They should. I know people are all, and even this year it's validating again. Why wasn't he back a month ago? Like every injury takes, 6 months to iron out for him. And despite that, I just think even if he only plays like 90 or 100 games, the Twins are so good when he plays the last 3 years that you just have to sort of roll the dice. And listen, there's been guys, Paul Molitor was hurt throughout his entire 20s and then all of a sudden just became this durable force in his 30s, right? I mean, you'd like to take advantage of Buxton's speed while he has it, but I would rather take the chance and cross my fingers on him staying healthy than watch him do all of those things for some other team. That's right.
That's exactly it. And
Hey, Dukes.
the power isn't going to go anywhere. He's got legit power now. I think the power will be there as he turns 31, 32, 33.
Hey,
Yeah,
Dukes,
Judd.
In a tactful way, can you ask Derek Falvey what this team has learned from the failure to put Akil Baddoo on the 40-man and the Lamont Wade Jr. trade, and then insinuate you kept Jake Cave for this? But
Yeah.
I think there's a way to ask that question, and I mean it's a legit question. Jake Cave is here. Wade is in San Fran, and I think he's played very well. Baddoo is obviously a guy. I mean, the 40-man, not the 25, the 40-man. So I'd just be curious to know from an assessment standpoint, personnel-wise, what they've learned from those decisions, because they've definitely come back to bite them.
Yeah, I mean, fair question. I think Baddoo is a bit more defensible than Wade Jr. just based on the lack of activity last year. When you look at his injury history, him not climbing above A, like there were things to point at with Baddoo, even if he's a physical specimen. I think there were some things to point at and say, we just don't know. We don't have enough of a book on him. Yeah, let's take the risk. We can expose him. We don't need to use a 40-man spot on him. On Lamont Wade Jr., yeah. And I didn't think he'd be maybe this good immediately for the Giants, but yeah, to trade, just the idea of trading a player like that for a reliever, and now you see that the reliever was here for all of 1 or 2 appearances. I don't know if that necessarily
They
adds
DFA'd
up,
him.
right?
Yeah, they DFA'd him in like May.
Yeah, you don't. But even if they didn't DFA him, I don't think you trade a guy with potential like Lamont Wade Jr. for a reliever.
You don't trade center fielders, catchers, and shortstops for relief pitchers. You just don't. I mean, they traded Wilson Ramos for Matt Capps because he was a closer and they were desperate 11 years ago. But even then, that was a first guess.
And we have old
trade.
tweets exposed from Phil Mackey on that exact topic for later today.
No, dude, come on. Oh no, looks like my connection is cracking up here.
I have to leave. Goodbye.
Finish the show. All right, Reckless Speculation Thursday.
Reckless speculation.
Darren Doogie Wolfson. You can find him on Twitter at DWolfson, KSTP, the Scoop Podcast, every week on scorenorth.com, and also the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. Doogs, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you next week.
Take it easy, boys. And just a reminder, on the Twitter thing, I'm talking with Declan on Tuesday. I didn't have an inkling on Tuesday about this Everson Griffen workout, tryout, however you want to, explain it. Then it just falls into my lap on Wednesday. Then I think a lot of different reporters picked up on it. But, yeah, just, if I get something, I'll certainly tweet it out. So, yeah, shameless plug. But, yeah, D. Wolfson, KSTP on Twitter.
Love it. There he is. He is the godfather of reckless speculation. Well, shooter Charlie Walters is probably the godfather.
Said before that,
he's the prince. He's the prince of reckless speculation.
There's a lot of
the modern day pharaoh of reckless speculation.
All right, see you, boys.
Thanks, Doogie. Bye.
See you, Doogie. Yeah, he's got to go talk to Derek Falvey.
Just want to know.
Dude, they traded Lamont Wade Jr. for Sean. Is it Sean Anderson?
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude.
The problem is, and this is not a joke, Jake Depew, our friend from Talking Twins on Mondays, spent 2 years telling me Wade's really good, man.
He is.
He's really
his at bats.
I mean, he was like
he's patient hitter. He draws walks.
It was a total.
He's a solid player.
It was a total first guess. It was a complete
Absolutely.
first guess. Don't do this. Don't do this. And and last year, Depew said, Jake Cave sticks around. Wade's better than that, and now we've seen it.
Yeah,
So.
I think Jake Cave, was it last night or no? It might have been because they played a day game yesterday. I can't remember. He definitely had one of those classic
Dive and Jake.
all-out dive with zero
Yesterday.
chance to catch the ball. Yeah, yesterday's game. Just love it. Okay, so